Hello gamers, this is Girl Gamer Plays, and this here is my continuation of the article referring to the Slender Man stabbing. And here it says, girls to be tried as adults in stabbing. Judge cites seriousness of offense in Slender Man case. Waukesha, a pair of 13-year-old girls will be prosecuted as adults in the attempted killing of a classmate after a sleepover last year. A judge ruled Monday after finding that moving their case to juvenile court would unduly depreciate the seriousness of the offense. Waukesha County Circuit Judge Michael Bohren announced Monday that defense lawyers had failed to convince him that the cases should be moved to juvenile court, where the girls would face only 3 years of incarceration and extensive supervision until 18. This court continues to be concerned with what happens after 18, Bowen said. There has to be assurance to the public and to these defendants as well that a serious offense has to be dealt with on a serious basis that offers protection to everyone, he said. State law required the girls, who were 12 at the time of the crime, to be charged and prosecuted as adults, which could expose them to 45-year prison sentences. The law allows children in adult court to ask that their cases be transferred to juvenile court. Now, basically, from here to about here, I think. From here to here is just basically talking about who they were, who the girls were, so Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire, and they're being charged as adults with the attempted homicide on Peyton. And this whole thing here is another repeated paragraph talking about the bicyclist who found them. And this paragraph here talks about when Geyser and Wire were arrested the day of the attack, and they told a police officer that they were trying to appease Slender Man, and they believed that he could kill them or the family, that they did not kill their friend. And then the 3-point legal threshold again. This here says that the girls could not get needed treatment in the adult system, that prosecuting them as adults is not the only way to deter others from similar crimes, and that the transfer would depreciate the seriousness of the offense. That would not depreciate the seriousness of the offense. So, that the transfer would not depreciate the seriousness of the offense. And it says they presented experts on adolescent brain development, psychiatrists, and psychologists who examined the girls, their jailers, and former teachers. They described good students with no history of violence or criminal activity. Wire suffered from a delusional disorder that allowed her to believe in Slender Man and that he would harm her or her family if she and Geyser didn't kill for him. The doctors and psychologists who examined her for competency said. But after her arrest, she understood she had been wrong and then suffered depression over her prior choices, beliefs, and actions. Doctors said she is willing and able to get better and scores virtually no risk of repeating an offense. Slender Man is an online boogeyman character that started with a Photoshop image and grew into a kind of digital urban legend through reader-generated stories on websites such as Creepypasta. Geyser and Wire, who Peyton say actually did the stabbing when Wire refused at the last minute, was diagnosed during competency evaluations as suffering from early onset schizophrenia. Experts said that she continued to converse with fictional characters, concedes that Slender Man might order her to kill again, and believes she can suppress negative emotions through Vulcan mind control. During his oral ruling, Boren acknowledged all of that, but kept going back to the disturbing, premeditated nature of the crime of an offense he describes as, frankly, vicious. It says right here, judge calls attack vicious. So it's just repeating it. And this is a statement again saying there has to be assurance to the public and to these defendants as well that a serious offense has to be dealt with on a serious basis that offers protection to everyone. So here it says he stressed how the girls began plotting the homicide months earlier, and how after Peyton had been stabbed, they told her to lie still so as to not lose blood while they went for help, while in fact they just didn't want her to be discovered. Now it says nationally watched case. National advocates for juvenile justice reform have been watching the Slender Man case, even though they agree the offense was horrible and extreme, and that Peyton was lucky to survive. They say Geyser and Wire do not need and will not benefit from adult prosecution. They cite the same arguments the girls' lawyers made. The children prosecuted as adults have a much higher recidivism rate than children handled in juvenile or family courts, and that deterrence, a concept perhaps tied to the great public exposure of an adult prosecution, means little to other 12-year-olds. The part of the brain that could process deterrence is the last to develop, science has shown, and often not until early adulthood. Marcia Levick of the Juvenile Law Center in Philadelphia also notes that even a 3-year term of incarceration is a long sentence to a 13-year-old. It's the critical years of adolescence, she said, and the juvenile system provides an environment that helps them manage it. Kim Dvorak, director of the National Juvenile Defender Center in Washington, D.C., notes if the girls remain in custody from age 12 to 18, it's actually half of their lifespan. We can't look at the sentence through the perspective of an adult offender. The girls have been held in a juvenile detention center in West Bend since May 2014. The prosecutors have noted that even if Geyser and Wire were convicted as adults, they would serve the first years of any sentences at the same facility where girls found in delinquent go, Copper Lake School in Lincoln County. Alright. They also stressed that Boren could put the girls on probation after they age out of Copper Lake at age 18, with more input about conditions and consequences of breaking those rules than if they were in the juvenile system. Insanity plea. Now, Wire and Geyser appeared jointly in Monday's hearing. Wire seemed upbeat and animated during the conversations with her attorney, Maura McMahon, I believe, and who explained the functions of the larger ceremonial courtroom where the proceedings were held for the first time because of Boren's judicial rotation since the last hearing. While Wire wore a more bright patterned shirt, Geyser appeared in a black hoodie. She bounced in her chair before an attorney arrived. Her lead attorney, Anthony Cotton, listened to the hearing by telephone while driving to a hearing in another county. I don't think this changes the big picture, Cotton said in an interview after referring to the likelihood that Geyser will plead not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. At least one mental health expert testified at her reverse waiver hearing that he thinks Geyser's illness would qualify her to raise such a defense, which results in commitment to a state mental hospital. While the defense might consider appealing Boren's decision on the reverse waiver, Cotton said it's hard to win a reversal on matters that are so plainly within a judge's discretion. Cotton also noted that appeals would only delay a disposition that might get Geyser treatment. Arraignment for Geyser and Wire was set for August 21st. And then it says here, Morgan Geyser, 13, enters a Milwaukee County courtroom on Monday. A judge ruled she and Anissa Wire, 13, will stand trial as adults in an attempted killing of a girl. So that one right there would be Morgan. This one right here is Anissa Wire, and it says Anissa Wire was brought to the courtroom for the hearing. A judge said defense lawyers failed to convince him that the cases should be moved to a juvenile court. Long story short, these are two 13-year-old girls who are going to be spending quite a few years in prison for a good majority of their young lives. They're probably not getting out as teenagers. It says something about a 45-year prison sentence. They could be looking at that since they've been tried as adults. And they're 13. But as it said in the other article, Wisconsin requires children as young as 10 to be charged for certain serious crimes to be charged as adults for certain serious crimes. I mean, can you imagine at 10 being charged with, murder? Something like that? Like, you murdered somebody, and you're being charged as an adult at 10, and you may not get out of jail till you're like 55 or something. You're just a kid. Even these two, they were kids. They were considered children, like young children before either this year or last year, whenever they turned 13. They were both considered children still. And they're just starting their teen years. And they're being tried as adults. Heck, if they would have done this at 10, they would have been tried as adults at 10. Could you imagine? Could you imagine at all? Like, when you were a child, even if you were so angry that you said, I'm gonna kill you, would you really actually do it? And as a 10-year-old, would you really truly understand what you did? So that's a bit of controversy in and of itself, that this state here, Wisconsin, will charge 10-year-olds who say murder or rape or something like that. They will charge them as adults, 10-year-olds. Now, obviously, at 10 you still, know right from wrong, but things happen. Sometimes you get really angry. You're only 10. You might wind up killing somebody. You might, push them off a set of steps, God forbid, but, there have been times where 10-year-olds have found guns and they shot somebody. They did not like them, so they shot somebody, but then they wind up killing them. They do that here. They could be charged as an adult. Could you imagine a 10-year-old shackled, crying, and the family crying about this whole thing, and then you got the family of the victim. Let's say it was another person, not related to that, the defendant's family, crying their eyes out. It's a really tense situation. And again, these two girls, they were 12 when they did this, and so was the girl they tried to kill. I'm assuming she's 13 by now. Yeah, I can't even imagine being in her shoes in particular, and to come out of this alive. And not only that, the other article mentioned that a few months afterward, or whichever it was, she was actually able to start 7th grade. Even after that. That's amazing in and of itself. But again, going back to the whole thing where these two are going to start their teen years as adults, quote unquote, because they're being tried as adults, basically. So they're 13-year-old adults in this justice system. That's just how it works. And it's really sad. It's extremely sad. Another thing I wanted to talk about right quick was the whole creepypastas thing. And that'll bring me to my other commentaries I had about this. One in which I showed my case for God of War for the PlayStation Vita, because I don't have a capture card for that. And, I just talked about it a little bit. Then I talked about this some more when I showed off a couple of Black Ops 2 gameplays. And, I, for the life of me, could not understand how these girls could believe that Slender Man was real. Okay, I take it back. I can kind of understand how they would believe that. As I mentioned, guys are having schizophrenia and stuff. Yeah, I can understand that. And when you're depressed and you're alone, sometimes you will pull characters from, say, your favorite movies, your favorite video games, and you can pretend they're friends. It's, in a way, an imaginary friend that actually, quote-unquote, exists. I can understand that. But what I didn't understand was why they talked about Slender Man that way. I really didn't know about creepypastas much until I actually saw my very first one. And it was on the Russians, I think, I'm sorry, it's either Russian or German Nazi sleep experiment. I'm sorry, I cannot remember which group did that, but it was on the sleep experiment. That was the first time I introduced myself to creepypasta, when I saw it on YouTube. And then I discovered there were more creepypastas out there. There was some on Five Nights at Freddy's. There's some on Rugrats, believe it or not. There's some on Pokemon, believe it or not. I mean, so on and so forth. Garfield has one. And then 3 of those were mentioned from a list from another YouTube video that talked about the most interesting creepypastas out there. And I was like really surprised to find that there were so many creepypastas on things that are children's shows. You know, Rugrats, Pokemon, Garfield, for crying out loud. Really? There are creepypastas on that? Yep. And obviously it would be on a really demonic character such as Slender Man. But I was mentioning before in my other commentaries how, you know, the game itself, how would it influence somebody to kill? I just didn't understand. But after hearing about the creepypastas and remembering the creepypastas that I saw on YouTube, it's like, okay, so now it makes sense. I'm not trying to put words in Geyser's mouth at all, but I believe she had probably read some of these. And I don't know if Anissa read any of these, or if Geyser introduced her to those, or what. But, you know, Geyser in particular made Slender Man a real, since it's called Slender Man, we'll just call him human. She made Slender Man a real human being in her mind. And Anissa, unfortunately, at the time, you know, she's depressed and going through some things in her life. You know, she follows behind Morgan, and yeah, that's the end result. It's just a blessing that the one girl, Peyton, actually pulled through this. And it's a real blessing that she's even able to start the next grade up in school. But one can only imagine what nightmares she'll have, and if she'll trust new people as easily, you know. Like, she probably won't be doing any birthday parties in another person's house. I don't know if she'll invite anyone to her house like that. Like, you know, I don't know. I mean, she was 12 when this happened. She's probably 13 by now, if she wasn't last year. She's probably 13 by now, right? She's starting her teen years, too. You know, just now, or whenever she turned 13. You know, I know that I would have a hard time trusting people if that happened to me. Yeah, it would be really rough. So, yeah, I mean, I could just kind of go on, and I know the video went on for quite a bit, but it was just a spur-of-the-moment thing. I decided to share both of these articles with my viewers and subs. And this all came from the Journal Sentinel. If I find another article on this case, I'll also share that article. I just hope that I don't get any warning videos from YouTube about this. And yes, I will mention that because, you know, sometimes YouTube's like, hey, you know, did you get permission, yada yada. I hope they're okay with that. If not, then I will not be able to share the next article. And I might just have to do a different type of commentary. Sorry if this was really boring, and sorry if this was really long, but again, it was spur of the moment, and since it relates to games, I decided to share it with you guys. Well, this is Girl Gamer Plays. Thank you for watching, and next time, if I don't get any warnings about this on YouTube, and I find another article concerning the girls and the whole Slender Man stabbing case, I will be sure to share it with you. Again, thanks for watching.